Charleston Post Oak from 9 until 10. J.J. Joe, Baylor Radio Color Analyst, former Baylor quarterback, who has also been able to maybe decompress a little bit. Did you get a break at all, J.J.? Are you still working last week throughout most of the days?
Hey, well, the good news is, Smoke, we had a pretty big run up at the office right up until like Christmas, and then we were able to chill a little bit. So it's been good.
Good. I know you're in Houston, and of course tomorrow the game. What is this? The matchup? What would a win against LSU, in your opinion, mean to Baylor, other than the obvious of a 7-game winning streak to close out the year?
Yeah, I think it means a lot. Before I get to the conference stuff, I just think for the team to finish the season 9-4 after starting 2-4, and continuing to build. Everything's been positive. Recruiting has been positive. Transfer portal news is positive. Some good news today as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just want to close it right, Smoke. You want to close the season out and then use that as additional fuel going into the offseason, knowing that, hey, man, we're probably a quarter or maybe a couple of different plays from, being in the Big 12 championship game. So I think it means a lot to close out with the dub.
JJ, do you have a favorite maybe storyline or position or just something that's really been a bright spot that you've enjoyed this year that stands out to you?
Well, I think for everybody, of course, I'm a quarterback, so the Sawyer finally getting his run, right? He played quite a bit last year, probably still had some gaps in his game, especially throwing the ball. Came into this season, had Finn in front of him. And he just kind of bided his time, and when he got the opportunity, took advantage of. I love that storyline. But I'll tell you, I think the storyline for me is really the coaching staff. You got to give players some kudos as well, because they had to go out and execute. But Aranda sticking to his guns and turning this ship after 2-4, to me, and coming out of that off week when I thought they were dead to rights. I thought we were done. I think that's the story. Whatever he did leading up to that and during that off week, and that coaching staff to keep this squad together, man, it says a lot about them, and it says a lot about the players for getting to the other side.
I thought, and I don't remember the exact score, but BYU was up 21-0 and 28-7, and I wondered at that point. And I don't want to use the word quit because that's a harsh word. I don't want anyone telling me that. But I thought they're dead. Like you said, they came back and made that competitive. But, boy, I thought it was over right there. I just wondered if Aranda would coach another couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you, Smoke. We we lost to Colorado, I think, the week before in that last second play and then overtime. Mm-hmm. Came back to McLean, and then we were looking, like you said, we were looking dead. But I was encouraged because really, if you think about it, Coach Aranda teams, I've never thought, even when we were 3-9, that they laid down on it. I always felt like the players played for him. But I just felt like, that BYU game was a bad one. And then even the next week, I think that's when we went to Iowa State. I just thought, man, it was going to be too much and we weren't going to be able to come back. But they did look dead for a minute there, especially at the BYU game in the first quarter.
JJ, it's a bowl game, so who the heck really knows, honestly, and there's opt-outs and NFL declarations and things like that. But when you look at LSU and what you do know about them and what you do expect to see tomorrow, what do you expect and what stands out to you?
Well, we had Coach Aranda at the little it wasn't a coaching show. Actually, it was kind of the pre-bowl, the preview. Really the one thing that concerns me, they're going to have talent no matter how many opt-outs. LSU, SEC teams are going to bring athletes. But to me, it's really, Nussmeier. And even though he's going to be missing Kyron Lacey, and I think he's missing one more, I'm not sure if C.J. Daniels is going to play. But, he still has Aaron Anderson in the slot, Chris Hilton, the deep threat guy. They're going to pop in a couple guys we probably haven't heard, and they're going to have guys who can play the ball in the air. He's a quick read, quick study, quick processor who's going to know what you're in. And I think that's my concern. We've struggled with the ball in the air all year long. We struggled really covering. And this is the kind of team that Brian Kelly is the coach, man. They can score fast and score often, and you just got to find a way to slow them down.
Normally, a school like LSU, and I remember asking Aranda this even when they were going that 12-2 year. In the middle of that, when you could tell they were really, really good, And I asked him about the difference between what he has seen in the Big 12 compared to the guys along the defensive front from when he was at LSU. And he mentioned it was different. It was huge different.
Oh, yeah.
That in the Big 12, you better have a great staff to scheme because you're not going to have some of those animals that play on the defensive line. Do you see that with this LSU team this year?
The funny thing is I didn't. And that's the first thing I looked at. And Smoke, really, if you remember, when we played Georgia in 19, we played them in 19 in the Sugar Bowl, and they had 13 opt-outs, I think. I mean, they had a lot of dudes in play. But, dude, they were different. You could tell from the jump that, hey, we were lucky for 21-7 with 13 opt-outs, right? And we had a pretty good, solid team that year, especially defensively. So, and then we played Ole Miss. I thought Ole Miss, we played them, they were good. They weren't Georgia front type good. And this LSU team, they do have some talent up front, but I just don't see on film, at least the games I've seen, that they seemingly are the prior LSU teams where they would bring, what Alabama or what Georgia has up front. They have solid guys. They have guys who can make plays. They got edge guys to come get you. But the difference seems to be, and Smoke, this is just kind of watching video, to me that they lack those guys in the interior. So they bring a lot of pressure and all this kind of stuff to create some disruptive plays.
JJ, what have you thought about just the December that this team has had, not only finishing strong, but the recruiting, the new quarterback commit through the portal? I don't know how much you can actually talk about or not, but just kind of learning lessons from a couple of years ago when they won that Big 12 title and just sort of sat on their hands. They are not doing that this time around, it appears.
No, man, I'm glad. Hey, you learn, right? I mean, that's the one thing about when you go through a rough time, and you say, man, we should have, would have, could have. But Baylor is doing it. I'm so happy because we seem to pivot and adjust it to this new reality. And I like to see the high school recruiting piece mixed in. That's what I really like about what Coach Aranda is doing. He's still going after high schoolers. He's not advocating high schoolers, and he's also then filling in needs where he needs to. So I like the mix, and I think really the missing puzzle, my man, is just going ahead and beating the LSU team, because I believe that does launch you in the offseason where you feel like, okay, I don't care how many opt-outs have. We beat LSU, a brand name SEC, and next year we ought to be in the conference championship. And that's what you want. You want that in the winter to launch into spring and then on to the summer and into the fall season.
With Sawyer back for another year, and what they did get, as Craig mentioned, a commitment from somebody that's at a Power 4 conference. Among what they have that they brought in with commitments at high school, this kind of, in my opinion, is it as deep they've been at the quarterback position since maybe Briles' last year?
Yeah, I mean, with the young man, was it White, I think, that's coming, with him coming, I have not seen the young man. I know he was a high recruit, just like Sawyer was. So it really speaks a testament to him because he knows he's not going to start next year. But, you could tell he's really involved and really aware of the development that this Jake Spavital brings. So I would say, Smoke, you have to think, I would say that would be a good assessment that since we had, we were sitting on RG3, RG3, Nick Lawrence, Bryce, and Seth and for a period there. And then we had Bryce and Steph, and then we had Stidham come. So I think maybe that Bryce was Stidham there. I don't think Stidham may not have been.
No, he eventually was there when Seth Russell was a part of that, and Chris Johnson, I think, too. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So I would say, Smoke, you're right. Your head's on. I mean, this is probably, with him coming in, the best group we've had since Briles' squad was here.
Do you think bowl games matter as much as they used to?
You know what? That's funny. I think the CFP, of course, is going to take, everything. But we've had BCS since 2000, where like the top 4 or 2, whatever teams were playing. Now it's a little bit bigger. Right now it's like a 2 or 3 weeks. But I do think for the teams involved and for the coaches and the programs that the bowl games do matter, because number one, it gives you additional practice time. Never get away from the fact that you get 15, 16 extra practices for the guys who don't play a lot. That's huge. It also helps you with recruiting. I think teams know that you're playing in the bowl game. They get to see the guys. They get to go to the bowl game. Now I see guys practicing with teams. And then I think beyond that, it can be a launch. I don't care what anybody says. Like that last game can either help you or hurt you a little bit going into off season. And if you can beat a nice team like LSU going into the off season with all they have coming back, man, that can be a special kind of launch. Like in 2012, we beat the snot out of a UCLA team to launch into the 13th season. Those guys felt they just kind of carried that whole momentum into the 2013 season and that confidence, and that's what you want to see continue. So I think they do mean a lot.
I think that's also when maybe nationally that people started to realize how physical Baylor's offense was, and not just the glitz and glamour or the deep fades or the passing the ball, that they realized when they beat UCLA and threw only 13 passes and made them like absolutely like it. I think that was one of the first glimpses around the country that people realized this was a pretty physical offense and not just wide open.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. Now, the team we have now, we run the ball different, but we do come off. I mean, Bryson Washington, he's freshman All-American.
Mm-hmm.
You have Dawson as well. They show how physical he is. And then Sawyer. I think Sawyer should be a guy that's up for pretty much every award next year. And I think the only thing missing, and I think that helps with players coming here, Smoke. I think the fact that we have guys from SEC schools, Big Ten schools now looking at Baylor, because I think they see it. They say these guys have won in a not too distant past, in 21 and 19, and now they're winning again. I like their coaching staff, and coach has shown a way to get guys to the league. Man, I think Baylor, all we have to do is quit stubbing our toes, and we'll be fine.
If only they could have done what they're doing now, and this isn't a what if, but if they would have used the momentum of 2021 the way they are recruiting this year and the portal, because Aranda wanted to give the younger players a chance to next man up, and it didn't work. Boy, it just seemed like that offseason, if you could go back and look at it again, you wonder, and maybe one day I'll get to ask him this, would he have done it differently?
I think 100% he would have done it different, because you got to think, what we've done the last 2 years is the polar opposite of what we did after the 21 season. We may have had two transfers. I think maybe that we may have had two transfers with all of our receivers leaving and both of our stud running backs leaving.
Yep.
There's no way I think the Aranda today would have done that again. So, but he learned. That's what I love about Coach Aranda. He learned. It may have come from a place of, hey, I got to do this because my job's on the line. But he learned. He's pivoted and said, this is the new reality. And now Baylor's going full bore ahead, and I like to see it.
See you tomorrow.
All right, my man.
Thank you, J.J. Joe, Baylor Radio Color Analyst, and, of course, played at Baylor at the quarterback position with us on 365 Sports.